welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight in the beautiful Oxnard College Performing Arts Center. The show that you're going to see tonight is part of a larger project that we've just started this semester. The idea of our college president, Dr. Richard Duran, which is to create what he's called the Oxnard College Institute for Latino Performing Arts. So if you picked up a program, you can read a little bit about the vision, the idea for the structure, but really what we're doing is we're going to create a complete performing arts center that will include, eventually, theater arts performances. In fact, we will have a performance in the spring of next semester. We're going to have a musical component. We're going to create a mariachi studies program through our music program. We will look toward integrating with our outstanding TV and film program. But the first program that we started is what we're doing tonight. This is the second in what we've been calling our Latino Thought Maker series. And I know you're all wondering, why is the white guy talking about a Latino Performing Arts Institute? But rest at ease, last month Rick let everybody know that I'm an honorary Mexican. And then I shared with him that when I used to teach at Los Angeles City College, I was given my own gang name. So in East Hollywood, I'm known as Big Güero. But I have been having a fantastic time. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, those who don't know me, my name is Ken Sherwood. I'm the Dean of the Liberal Studies Division, and the Performing Arts falls under my supervision, which is why Dr. Duran asked me to work with Rick to head up this program and create what we expect will be an amazing institute. So what you're going to see tonight is a very unique performance. In the world of competitive forensics, we might refer to it as what's called an oral interpretation, because it's going to include some reading directly from Rick's book, almost like the Forced Confessions of a Latino in Hollywood. But it's also going to be a performance piece about his experiences that are in the book. And I'm sure you noticed on the program that to make sure we were clear with the theme, this evening is an almost white Christmas. So I get the pleasure tonight, the honor, to introduce the star of our show, Mr. Rick Najera, who some of his bio is in the program, but I would have had to add another 16 pages to get everything that he's done. Because it tells you in there that he's written for television, he's written for film. He was only the third Latino to ever have a show produced on Broadway, his show Latino. And that is the show that we will be presenting here in the Performing Arts Center next April. So you could read more about him, but rather than me giving away the entire story, since this book really and this performance is much of his life, I'm going to let him take over now and introduce Mr. Rick Najera.
Merry Christmas. This first part is welcome to the ICU. I was bleeding badly. My forehead was pouring blood from a wound over my right eye. I was incoherent from the fever raging through my body. They found a blood trail leading from the front room to the living room to under my daughter's bed, as if I had sought refuge there. More blood led to my bedroom. I finally collapsed. My house looked more like a crime scene than a home. They found blood outside as well. Where it all began, I'll never know for sure. But it's certain, after I struck my head, I crawled my way to my bedroom. It was over 6 hours before my wife and daughter found me. By that time, the wound over my eye bled slowly because I had so little blood left to leave. Susan, my wife, said I was unresponsive when she dialed 911. I was lucky my wife was Anglo. If she had been Latina, she would have never called 911 until she thought of a good alibi. Just to tell the police. Listen, Chata, remember, I told you I was going to the movie theater? While I was there the whole time, I never went home to see Rick, and we get along very well. And I'll be just as surprised as you are if they find him hurt lying in a puddle of blood. Don't touch anything, you're going to leave some DNA right there. I joke mostly, because this is how I deal with the world and how I deal with pain. It's also how I find my way to truth. I had pneumonia, I didn't even know it. The pneumonia had left me hallucinating with fever, which must have caused me to have a seizure, and I fell. I always said I never had any time to rest with my hectic schedule, and now, more than ever, I was in a deep coma. When the paramedics arrived, they assigned me a number 3 in the Glasgow coma scale. Number 3. Now, I don't know why Glasgow invented the coma scale. I mean, do other cities have a coma scale? Does Tulsa, Oklahoma have a coma scale with fried catfish and cars going in a circle? Maybe they had the coma scale because they wanted to brag, you know. Seamus, I was in a Glasgow coma 3 and I drove myself to the hospital. A coma 3 is nothing. Brothers, in reality, there's a much more important question I need to answer, like, was I going to live? It was so sudden, the fall. It's how you die, really. Alone, so quick. The doctors wondered if I was going to have brain damage. It was so sudden. There's no final brave speech I was going to give to the world. It just happened. It's how most people die. It's like it happens, you're just choking on a ham sandwich and then you're dead. Or lately, with people texting, you're texting and you go, I'm going to be late. Within hours, my friends has heard my collapse. On Facebook, Twitter, it was an internet sensation. Rick, hashtag dead. Rick, hashtag was robbed. Hashtag Rick who? The rumors are flying. Stroke, heart attack, what could have? Did I walk in on a robbery? The pneumonia coupled with a seizure and a full created this perfect storm of pneumonia and overworking. And finally, I collapsed. After my MRI, the doctors warned my wife, Rick may not come back normal. Well, I'd never been normal, so that was pretty much normal for me. If I came back abnormal, that'd be fine. If I came back an accountant, that'd be horrible. Ironically, though I lived in comedy, it looked like more of a crime scene than anything else. And what did it? The pressure. Pressure, relentless pressure. I was overworked. I was directing the CBS Diversity Showcase. The CBS Diversity Showcase, I finished directing a season there. I directed every single year. I took maybe 5,000 applications. I narrowed down to 2,500 actual people auditioned for me. From that, I chose 22. And from those 22, for 9 years, I created a showcase that helped African Americans, Latinos, LGBT, everybody in the diversity circle. And I put them and I gave them a showcase. And you know what happened? 19 ended up as series regulars, and 3 are now on Saturday Night Live. I should have known I was sick. But the inherent pressure to provide. As Latinos, we have a great work ethic. Americans, Latinos, all of us were there. And I was lying in a hospital bed, incubated, sedated. An obituary seemed more in order. In every story there's a beginning, and my story started with the fact that I was Latino. Because in Hollywood, you're normally judged by who you are. They look at you, and for Latinos, we're a different group. We're not black, necessarily. We're not white. To Hollywood, we're almost white. So lying in my bed, IVs out my arm, tied, incubated, something down my throat, whatever it was, some sort of breathing apparatus. I looked like I was a man with no future. With no future, I dreamed of the past. That's how I woke up every morning. My dad, not being Mexican, he waiting in with Vicente Fernandez. I grew up in La Mesa, the little town of La Mesa, San Diego. Now, La Mesa was next to the other town of El Cajon. La Mesa, El Cajon. Why they had such simple names, I'll never know. But there it was. The last time I was in a hospital, I was a little kid, and I was crossing the street, and I had bottles because they're turning them on in to get some money for the bottles. Because us Mexicans, we really know about recycling. So I was already recycling at that age. I was crossing the street and I had these bottles in my hand. There's a man in a car. And he looks at me, he goes, go. And I go, no, you go. And he goes, no, you go. And I go, no, you go. And he goes, go. So I went, 2 tons of car hit me, bam! Nearly dead. Laid up in the hospital. My mother came crying over my body. First time I ever saw my mother cry, I felt so happy because I knew she loved me. As a Mexican kid, there I am. I was güero. Now, güero, for you Anglos who don't know güero, it means tall, good-looking Latino male. It's not me, it's my people who call me this. Well, my sister was very dark. She had all the indigenous blood in her. She looked totally Aztec or Apache. She had the Indian blood in her. I had the Spanish blood in me. I know that because growing up, I made her build me beautiful Spanish missions in my backyard. I stole her gold and gave her chickenpox and measles. I used to mow a lawn because I had such a good work ethic. I was always out working all the time. I was mowing lawns, working left and right. We were 5 kids in 1 bedroom in a 2-bedroom house in La Mesa. Little La Mesa, this little town. It was so very white bread. Extremely white bread. There's only 3 Latinos that even were in that town. We were the first ones. My grandfather earlier had started a barrio called Logan Heights. He started that barrio. He came there with my Taramura Apache-looking grandmother, and he ended up there, and he was a güero. He had blue eyes from Chihuahua. Big Mexican man. They didn't know they sold him a house, and when all of a sudden the Apache woman came in, and all the Mexican kids, the guy said, "Hey, I didn't know you were Mexican." He said, "Too late now." He brought cockfights, backyard fights, drinking. He took that boring Logan Heights and turned it into a barrio. He gave them culture. And there I was, mowing lawns in La Mesa. I remember this old lady, she had no nose. And she put a Band-Aid over her nose and she served me quarters after I worked for her. Little silver quarters. I wonder where'd she get these quarters from, like the 1930s, from some robbery she was involved in. Maybe it was a cannery accident, a settlement, I don't know. And she'd look at me and she'd call me Ricardo. "Hey, Ricardo." Well, my name's Rick. "No, it's Ricardo." "No, it's Rick." "No, it's Ricardo." Like Kunta Kinte. "It's Rick." "No, Ricardo. It's Rick." Well, my friends were white. I had my little friend up the street, a very white family. Extremely white. That was exactly them. Look how white they were. They called themselves Mom, Pa, all that stuff. My best friend was Nicky Witt. And Nicky Witt at the time was the whitest kid. He was so white he looked almost translucent. And I'd go to his house every single Friday night, and they would make tacos. Tacos every Friday night. It was amazing. And not just tacos, tacos on a little Susan. This little thing, this contraption that only Anglos could create. And it was made there, and they'd spin it around, and they'd make taco factory right at your table. And they'd have cheese and corn tortillas that are fried. It was horrible tacos. I mean, they're really bad. They thought salsa was tomato ketchup. That was basically it. And one day I turned to them and I go, "Nicky, man, your family loves tacos." And he goes, "Not really, Rick. We just thought you'd be more comfortable eating tacos." And you know what? I've always taken the high road. I figured they love me so much that they're going to eat these lousy tacos. Wow, they love me. They understood me. At least tried to. My mother loved me. You know, during this special time during Christmas, we love our mothers. The champorada I just had outside. Tamales, and mothers. You know, a Latina is very difficult because a Latina has to be a virgin and a mother at the same time, and that's hard. Really difficult. Last virgin was Mary, and she had a boy named Jesus who was a carpenter. He didn't stand outside Home Depot, but he was in Israel. It's tough to be a Latina. And of course, with us Latinos, we have my mother. Sweet woman, look at her. She's from Boone, Iowa. Boone, Iowa. Mexicans are from Boone, Iowa. They came from Alost, got empties on the train. They ended up in Texas. They said everyone was rude to them. They got back on the train. They overslept, and they ended up in Boone, Iowa. They said, "Oh, fuck it, let's stay." And she gave me corn on the cob, ham, and ambrosia salad, real white food wrapped in a flour tortilla. It was great. When we think about the conquest, there was other history. The history of the conquest, the Spanish and indigenous, the mixture of Malinche. That's the Malinche, the one that was a translator. Now, was she bad or was she good? I think she was trying to be a mother. She had 2 sons with Hernando Cortez. That's the thing about her, our women. They're so good about creating a family. We love family so much. One day my mother told me a story. She had a brother, named Joe. Joe Uvalle. There's his picture. He was 17, he went to World War II. He went to the Philippines, they captured him, he walked the March of Bataan, he went to a Japanese prison camp. She brought out that photo and she said, Rick, this is your Uncle Joe. He was 17 when he went for the war. 17, they captured him, they made him march the March of Bataan, and he was in the Air Force and he wanted to fly a plane. They kept him in a Japanese airfield and he'd watch planes go off and he always looked to the sky. And they told us he was going to be liberated and we were happy. And then the Japanese took him before they liberated him, threw him in a pit and added grenades and gasoline and killed him. He died for this country. She said, remember your Uncle Joe. People didn't know his name. And there was a man who wrote about the story about Uncle Joe, about the prison camp. He had memorized every single name of every prisoner. Every prisoner read. And your uncle, my brother, went to him and said, do you remember Joe Uvalle? He said, yes, finally, I remember Joe. He was so good. He was such a sweet kid. And she said, you remember that name? You remember Joe Uvalle? And I tell these stories because I want to remember Latinos like that fought and died for this country, who gave their lives. And when I was a kid, I wasn't good in school. It's amazing I'm here. I was flunked in 5th grade. Actually, I was flunked in kindergarten. I nearly got flunked in 5th grade, but I was flunked for sure in kindergarten. They said I was slow. They worried I was slow, and then they kept me back. And, you know, there was a nicer way than saying flunk. They said kept back. It was like, they don't want to say retarded, just slow. He's that slow kid who is kept back, and he's not retarded, but there he is. And one day the teacher started asking questions, and she noticed I never talked. And they said, why isn't he talking? And I said, I have nothing to talk about. Here I am. And she did test on me, and they found out that I was actually very bright. And so she took an interest in me, and she said, let me work with him. And she said, why don't you tell me your story? Tell me your story. I'd tell my story to her, or make up stories to her. And she would write them down, she would fold paper, she'd sew them to cardboard and make some cloth. And it'd make these books. And I couldn't believe that I was telling a story and it would turn into a book. And the first story I told was a story called The Colored Boy. The Colored Boy was about a kid. It was every single color in the world. He'd change color. He would always change color, so no one knew what to do with him. They didn't know what to do with him. He was a colored boy. People didn't know how to be prejudiced against him. He kept changing colors, but they never knew who he was. And finally, this other boy comes from outer space, comes down, sees the colored boy, and says, oh my God, you're the colored boy. In our world, everyone is many different colors. In our world, we celebrate colors. In our world, we love all the differences there are and all the colors that we are. And the more colors you are, the better. And he tells that little boy, you want to visit our world? And the little boy says, yes, let me get my toothbrush. And he goes up there. That was the first time I wrote, and I realized the colored boy was me. My mother tells me the stories about Uncle Joe and other Latinos. I want to keep their memories alive. I want to show the Latinos that no one ever sees. The Latinos like you and me. Latinos like my family. All my family. The biggest influence on me was my father. He got me to love Shakespeare. He is a good-looking man. He is a good-looking man. I used to look at him and thought he could be a movie star. And he'd see movies, and he'd come home, he'd tell me the stories about movies, and he loved Shakespeare. He would take me to see movies, like Cromwell. And so I went to see this movie, and I wanted to act for one reason. They had this movie, Cromwell, and Richard Harrison's up there explaining Cromwell, and he's talking about having beautiful education, and people that are having laws and just and education, and the whole world will be educated and fine. And he dreamed about this England. My father looked at me, he turned over and he said, hey, Rick, if you spoke beautifully like that, I'd be very proud of you. There's 5 kids in my house. I had to get some attention. So I began to study Shakespeare. I studied Shakespeare and I started to learn Shakespeare. I learned all the soliloquies. I learned them all really well. And I remember Richard II was a powerful soliloquy because he's the king. He's losing his kingdom. And I remember reading that monologue, and it goes something, if I can remember, like this. It was, take away the kingdom. He goes, no matter where, of comfort no man speak. The top of guns, and drums, and white paper on the earth and leave epitaphs. He's saying this right to the people. He says, you but mistook me all this while. I live with bread like you, feel want, need grief, need friends. Subjected thus, how can you say to me, I am a king? I heard that and I said, wow, that's Mexican depressed. I related totally. That was depressed. That's Vicente Fernandez, drink tequila and call your ex-girlfriend at midnight depressed. I love Richard II. My dad, he loved the fact that I love Shakespeare, and I read Shakespeare all the time, and I read sonnets, and sonnets that were so beautiful. Sonnets like, when disgraced with fortune in men's eyes, I all alone you weep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries. Desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. Yet in these times myself almost despising. Happily I think on thee, and then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising from southern earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered that such wealth brings, that I scorn to change my state with kings. Love, passion, that's Mexican. That's Latino. So my dad said, you go to college. I want you to go to college. I got accepted to USC, their BFA program, and no one Mexican at that time never accepted. But it was very expensive. I couldn't afford it. And my dad says, go to Mesa. Mesa will help you out. Don't know how to get you a scholarship. So there I am, where are we, walking to Mesa. I go to Mesa, and they look at me, and they go, look at you. Oh, well, not speaking Spanish too good. Look at you. You don't feel you felt enough oppression or prejudice in your lifetime to join a movimiento estudiantil chicano. I said, Xochimilco, does right now count? Because I'm feeling a lot of prejudice right now. So I ended up going to junior college. That's why I believe in junior colleges. I went to Oxnard Junior College. I became the student body president. They tried to impeach me once, that's just politics. But I went on down to the Old Globe Theater. And I auditioned and I got the job. I started working in the Old Globe Theater as a Shakespearean actor. And there I was, wearing tights. They were not pantyhose. Like my family would always say they were pantyhose, but they weren't. They were tights. And I'd go out and entertain kids. I was on the Globe Education Tour, so education was important to me. I do Shakespeare all over, and I see Mexican kids that never saw a Latino ever doing Shakespeare. They're amazed. And there I was. Some of them would come up to me, mostly making fun of me, sure. Say, hey, Holmes, you know, I really appreciate the fact that you Shakespeare, you know, makes me proud. I like that. And I love that. And one of the people I worked with down there in San Diego, they had auditions for Second City Improv of San Diego. Second City Improv. And there I was in Shakespeare, doing the Old Globe. That Second City called, they were an improv troupe. So I go, okay, I'm going to audition for Second City. I've never done improv before. What do I do? And they said, the trick to improv is just say yes. So I go, okay, I'm going to learn that simple skill. I'm going to say yes. They go, have you ever done improv? Yes, I have. Do you want to do an improv with us? Yes, I do. Look, there's a big train. Yes, it is. They hired two people, two unknown people of color. They hired me and an unknown woman named Whoopi Goldberg. One day I told her I was going to Hollywood. And she said, Rick, you should be a writer. You're a really good writer. I said, no, Whoopi, I'm not a writer. She says, yes. You've got to say yes to being a writer. Don't let yourself be a liar. You've got to say yes. And I said, to Hollywood, and I had only my father's advice. He was a door-to-door salesman. Went from door to door. He said, Rick, listen to me. I go to every door. I knock on every door. I knock on every door. They say no. They say no every time. No, no, no. But around the 100th door, I hear that one yes. You gotta hear a lot of no's before you hear that one yes. Back in the intensive care unit, it's hard for me. I didn't know at first where I was. I'd gone to this, what they call a health opportunity. I was in intensive care, you know, beeping sounds all the time. They'd wake me up at night just to give me shots when I started to come out of the coma. I don't know, never understood why they'd wake me up. I said, just let me sleep. Give me a shot while I'm asleep. But they want to wake me up so I'd have the full pleasure of a shot in the stomach. And there it was. A lot of people started calling, and unbeknownst to me, Lupe Ontiveros called. It was a woman who played over 300 maids in different stories. And Lupe called and said, Rick, it's so sad what's happened to you, but understand this. We love you. You're going to get through this, and we're both going to get through this together. I left it on my phone. I never got rid of that voice message. A few months later, she died. She never told anyone she had cancer. I think she was talking to me. We're going to get through this together. You know, my children couldn't visit me in the ICU. It was tough. Because I was kind of a wounded lion, being the provider and all that. I never wanted them to see me wounded. Because, you know, when it comes to Africa, when the lion's wounded, the hyenas get him. I began to grasp my recovery would be hard. I could relapse at any moment. But I was getting yes. I was going to start to get up. I remember one time a nurse, when I started to wake up, I told her to come closer. I'd been in coma, she didn't know what to do. She came up closer. And I looked at her and I said, do you know how to get a man out of a coma? Give him Viagra, that'll get him up. Swear to God, that was my first joke out of a coma. All the people in the hospital were like, who the hell is this guy? By the time my wife came in the room, I was out again. She tried to talk to me. She squeezed my hand. She said, Rick, everyone's worried about you. Everyone's worried about you. Sofia Vergara. I opened up my eyes. I went back down again. See, memory's an odd and fragile thing. And I remember all this stuff so we can leave back a legacy. And I began to write again. Even in that place, slowly recovering, I was starting to recover my memory. Being in a coma for almost 2 weeks, I came out and I started remembering things. In fact, I came in one time, my wife told me this story. She said, one of my friends, Jacob Vargas, he did the movie Selena and tons of other things, been in the show Latino with me, was in my hospital bedroom and I was reciting Shakespeare to him. I was hanging on to all those memories. So, memory again, fade in Hollywood. My earliest memories was I Love Lucy. I love Lucy. It was amazing. Now watching Desi as a child, you see Desi Arnaz. And Desi Arnaz was singing songs that no one in America understood. And this is true. He was a cultural propagandist. Desi Arnaz, who came to this country, said, I was cleaning bird cages. I came to this country. And now look at me. They sang the song Babalu. You know, Babalu, hey, Babalu. Hey. You break down the words of Babalu, he's asking for a negra bambona, which is a thick-lipped, thick black woman. And he's using aguardiente, which is alcohol, and he's making a spell for the Santeria. And Santeria was East African religion. It was brought to Cuba. So it's really a song about a guy getting a black woman. And there he's singing that, and all 50s Americans going, that's a wonderful song. And then I started auditioning. I got cast in a movie called Red Surf. I played a drug lord. I admit it, I played drug lords. Most of my roles were drug lords. I played a Cuban drug lord, which is the greatest drug lord there is. They can sing, they can dance, they sell drugs, it's amazing. The other guy that was with me was a guy named George Clooney. So It was George Clooney and me. And I was the bad drug lord, and he was the other drug lord, too. I don't know why that was, maybe because he was white. And I remember being in these places. It's about 1989, and I was shooting in the hood, and the hood was horrible. I'm playing a drug lord. I walk out, I have my shoulder holster on. I stand out there, looking tough. And one day I hear this pop, pop, pop while I'm filming. Pop, pop, pop. I look on over, and there's this guy running. He's running, and I see a guy behind him shooting at him. Pop, pop, pop. And I look, and he looks at me, and I reach for my holster. Well, my gun with caps is in there. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and we look at each other. And he's like, damn, that's a Cuban drug lord. Oh, shit, son. He didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to do either. And then just turned and pop, pop, pop. Shot the guy again. The guy was wounded. He ran off. I came inside, told the police that one guard, it was a low-budget film, one retired policeman. It happens here all the time. Don't worry about that. Easy, don't worry. It happens all the time. And the other guy in the movie with me is Gene Simmons. He comes out with a fake AK-47. I'm from Israel. It happens all the time. And there I was, seeing all this stuff happen. And I started to realize I'm playing these drug lords. I'm not in charge of my own destiny. George Clooney had 9 offers after the film. We're both the same drug lords. I had 0 because no one was writing Latino roles, and when they did, they were drug lords. So I started creating, and I created a show called Latins Anonymous. Latins Anonymous was created by me. Now, Latins Anonymous, with these actors and I got together, and they said, why don't you write a break? And I said, I'm not really a writer, but I'm going to teach myself how to write. You're going to teach yourself how to write, too, because I wrote before in Second City. And so I started writing monologues. And the first monologue, I said, let me write the truth. Just write the truth. Whatever you've gone through, write the truth. So I said, write the first time you realized it was Latino. Latins Anonymous. So I said, it goes like this, here. I'd stand down there and I go, hi, my name is Rick. And the audience would say, hi, Rick. And I admit, I'm a Latino. The first time I realized Latino, I was 9 years old. I told my mom I was going to play with the Mexican kids down the street, but she said, you are Mexican, so you can stay home and play with yourself. I was worried about going blind, so I went to the schoolyard, and there was this kid here, and he saw me, and he grabbed my ball from me, and he pushed me in the ground and said, here, that's my ball now, wet back. And I'd never heard the term before. Wet back, dry back, quarterback, halfback. It didn't sound like a bad word. Wet back. But just to play it safe, I kicked his ass. I beat up Bradley. Schoolyard principal walks up, or teacher, or the supervisor walks up and says, why'd you hit Bradley? Why'd you hit Bradley? And I said, because he called me a wetback. And she looks at me, this white old kid, and goes, are you Mexican? I said, yeah. Well, then you are a wetback. Thank you for my 1-year tortilla chip. This program works. That's all a true story. It really happened that way in Mesa. That's every single word I just said for you tonight is completely the truth. That really happened. What's funny is I grew up in La Mesa. That Mexican kids down the street was a man named Juan Vargas, who's now our congressman. Now the other Mexican up the street was Elena Cho, the first Mexican astronaut. So that little town of La Mesa, that little racist little house on the prairie area, created 3 Latinos that care. I remember at that time, there was a show called In Living Color. And I loved In Living Color. And my show, Latins Anonymous, was doing quite well. It did over 1 million ticket sales. And then Keaton Ivory Wayans met me and he said, we'd like you to be in the show, but we're going to choose a Korean guy over you. We don't think it's time for Latinos quite yet. But you did make a lot of money on your play. What about you becoming a writer? Yeah, sure. So he brought me into his office. There was him, 3 big black guys next to him, wearing dark sunglasses. And there it was. And so he said, make me laugh. So I started doing Wanda. I got you, I got you. I got you. First my lips out, I'm like, you dude's gonna kick my ass. Or he's gonna laugh. He started laughing. I'm like, man, damn, you're brave. All right, I like you. Make me laugh. I got a job. There I was working at Living Color, and everything was changing. And I was going through a hard time. My life was changing. The riots were happening in LA. The riots happened, and it happened oddly because when it all broke out and it got crazy and it was burning and all these things were going on, I was teaching a class for actors. I would always teach classes. I love helping people. So no one showed up in my class that day, and I said, oh, no one's here. That's kind of weird. I was wearing a suit and really looking nice. That's odd. No one's here. And I didn't have the radio on that day. I just got a new CD player, and I was listening to that. So I walk out and go, that's odd. There's a lot of fire and smoke going on here. Look at that. Korean liquor store orders with gummies. That's amazing. What's going on? And I see these black guys walking toward me, along with 4 Mexicans walking to me. And I went, wow, it's wonderful. Blacks and Latinos together. Thank God. Si se puede. They're together. And they went over and they started kicking my ass. They're united for one reason. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Are you kidding me? I'm Mexican. I'm Mexican. And they stopped. And they thought, oh my God, this white guy got possessed by a Mexican. Get the hell out of here. And I left. And so I went to the ATM, get money out, and the whole place was burning. I mean, LA was just hell. And there's a black guy who drives up. He's next to me, and I'm next to him, and we look at each other. And I go, I got your back. He goes, I got your back too. We took out the money. He looks at me, nice car, I got a nice car. He goes, you know something? It's not about the color of your skin. It's who got the ATMs and who doesn't. And we drove away. I remember being a Living Color was such an amazing experience because people would come to me and I got a chance to work with so many different people. And I remember this little Puerto Rican girl, a fly girl. She was always coming around. Rick, do you think I could be an actress? Yeah, Jennifer, you could be an actress. Her name was Jennifer Lopez. I said, Jennifer, you could be an actress. I'm going to write you a monologue. So I wrote a monologue. It was Puerto Rican Pride Parade. The woman who wouldn't give up her gun after she gave her crown. She had a gun. Pulls it out. Very funny monologue. No, I'm not giving up my crown. And it was really great, and Jennifer loved it. And she goes, wow, you think Keenan would let me play it? I said, I don't know. I talked to Keenan. I go, Jennifer's a really good actress. Maybe we should give her a shot. He goes, Rick, you write, and she dances. That's the way it is. I love Keenan. He was a great guy. He just had to run a tight ship. But that monologue got done on Broadway years later. And that actress was Jennifer Lopez. So I was right. They started coming to visit me back then. Different actresses. Salma Hayek came at one point to visit me. And to these nerdy Jewish writers, I looked like the most macho guy they had ever met. They thought I was so street and cool. So Jennifer Lopez hanging out with me. Salma Hayek came to visit me. She was from Mexico. And she told us she was a big star in Mexico. We didn't know anything different. She's like, so I said, she goes, I'd like to go to lunch with you. I said, okay. I go, where do you, I have to be back to the studio, so let's just go across the street. Where are we going? Denny's. You're taking me to Denny's? Yeah, it's great. They got Grand Slams. I love it. It's really good. Take Salma Hayek to Denny's. And then I remembered I started working there. I got a call from Televisa. Come on down to Mexico. We hear you're a good writer. I didn't know what Televisa was. I didn't know that at all. So I'm going down to Mexico. Now I feel like I need Valencia with me. I'm going to Tijuana. I'm going to Televisa. I know that I remember talking to the executives, and when they were talking about us, they started saying, listen, Rick, you're from Hollywood. They didn't consider me Mexican. They considered me Hollywood, which was great, because there in Mexico, there's sometimes prejudice. I can see prejudice everywhere. In Mexico, I would see prejudice. Sometimes you get the indigenous people and things like that. They told me honestly, Rick, we're just going to give the entertainment over there, and that's just what we do. And I started realizing we weren't having us right for each other. We weren't having our stories told here in the United States for Latinos. And we were somehow left out of the picture. Now imagine, if you will, if you were adopted by a family, and every single family gathering, all the photos from it came back to you, and you noticed your picture was cut out of every single photo. How would you feel? And a lot of Latinos feel that way in the United States today. And I started Latino blogs to kind of stop that. It started being a showcase for Latinos. And the way it would start is I would do characters. And the characters I did a character named Buford Gomez. Buford Gomez was a Border Patrol agent. And the way I started the show, I'd come on out for Latino blogs. Hi, my name is Buford Gomez. I'm with the United States Border Patrol. And there's a right way and a wrong way to immigrate, and strapped to your radiator is definitely the wrong way. Now, my favorite thing to do is I see a car that has I Heart Puerto Vallarta sticker in the car. I say, hey, you with the I Heart Puerto Vallarta sticker, pull it on over. You, I smell chicharrones, pull it on over. You with the grandmother looks like the Indian Maria, pull it over. And I knock on the trunk of the car, and no Mexican can resist this. You knock on the trunk, you go, que viva Mexico, viva, viva, viva. Works every time. There it was. Doing the show Latino Laws with Buford Gomez and all the characters I created. And one day, while I'm doing it, this guy from Mexico comes up. And I don't know who he is, because I really don't watch much Spanish television. But the rest of the cast who does is excited. And he comes up to me, hi, I saw your show. I'd like to join the cast. And I said, sure, we'll have an audition. It's wonderful. Well, I'm sure let's join, please. And they walk up and they go, that's Eugenio Derbez. I said, still don't know who he is. He goes, that's Eugenio. I said, Eugenio joins the cast. And Eugenio, I didn't speak very good Spanish, and he spoke horrible English. He was at a Berlitz class learning about my show, and he said, you know something? A guy named Fernando Carrillo is in a comedy show I love, and there's a guy, Rick Naka, who's doing this show. Eugenio, you're a comic. You should go down there. So Eugenio came and saw the show, and the first time he performed, he was so nervous. He was so terrified, he had a panic attack at his hotel. So I'm waiting for Eugenio to come there for rehearsal, and he's not there, and the show's about to go on. Finally, he arrives, and he says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just started panicking in my hotel room because I'm not good in the English. I'm not good at all, and I started panicking. I said, Eugenio, you're a huge star in Mexico. It's just English. Don't worry about it. No, I started panicking. So I called downstairs and said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And they said, are you on drugs? I've never done drugs. No. So we went to the hospital, and they sat there, and they put these monitors on him, and he opens his shirt, and Eugenio was a very hairy man. And it looked like I was looking at the underside of a dog. It was like this. Almost like nipples kind of thing. It was the weirdest thing. And Eugenio loved the show. I loved working with Eugenio. We brought in different stars. Jaime Camilo, Christian De La Fuente. You name it. Every single Latino did my show. Cheech Marin, Edward James Olmos, you name it. And Eugenio turns to me and he goes, Rick, I always dreamed of going to Broadway. I said, wow, man, that's pretty good. We're in Broadway. So we're both doing a movie, and I cast him in the movie. We're in a movie, it's a bad movie, Pledge to This or something, or TV the movie. It's a National Lampoon movie that, trust me, you don't want to rent. It's a horrible National Lampoon movie. We're in Miami filming, and these guys see me and Eugenio acting together, and the producer goes, you're going to Broadway. He's a very rich man. I'm a multi-millionaire. I'm taking you and Eugenio. We're putting you on Broadway. So I tell Eugenio, hey, we're going to Broadway. We're going to Broadway. This is amazing. Eugenio, my dream come true. This is so great. I don't know if he really talks that way, but that's how I remember. It's like, great. And the guy gets indicted for $700 million of some SEC scam, and everything was false, and I realized we're not going to Broadway. So I can't let Eugenio down. He gets all sad. So I said, Eugenio, we're going to go to a place called, it's going to be called Times Square. It's near Broadway. There's a place called Town Hall. And I'm going to rent it. I'm going to take my own money and rent it. And you're going to come out out there and we're going to go on Broadway, off Broadway right now, but we'll be on Broadway, I promise you. I don't know how I was even thinking, because that was crazy. So I rent this place, I spent $30,000 of my own money. I didn't tell my beautiful wife Susie. I had taken the money out of the checking account, and I find out there's only 50 tickets sold. I'm like, oh my God, I should use Eugenio money, he's rich. You know something? Eugenio, we need to do something. We're going to do something quick. So we called up this Spanish language station called Barcelona de la Mañana, and I called him and said, you get in there, Eugenio, you get in there, and you get on the radio, and you tell everyone you're here, and this is going to happen, and you got to really sell it, Eugenio, because I'm going to lose a lot of money, and probably my marriage as well. So please. So Eugenio goes there, and when I call up the place, I go, Eugenio Depends is there, and he wants to do an interview. The guy says, we'll schedule it for next week. I go, that's too late, you have to do it now. He goes, it take a while to get Eugenio here. I go, he's outside your door. The guy opens the door, he's like, oh my God, Eugenio Depends is here. Eugenio gets on talks to people, and before you know it, we sold out. And then someone goes, the show should go to Broadway. And we go to Broadway. And Eugenio's there, and I'm there. Jaime Camille had a show that didn't make it to Broadway, and I call him up. Jaime, come in for a week, he's there. He did this great show, it's directed by Chichman called Latino. You'll see it later on this stage. And Eugenio, we both got our dream. He got his picture in Sardi's, I got my picture in Sardi's. But the best thing that ever happened the entire time, one day at Sardi's, and I'm washing my hands, I'm coming out of the restroom, and the busboy's following me. And he keeps looking at me. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, did I not tip him? This is not good. New York has $1 million. And the problem with Broadway is most Latinos couldn't afford to go to it. So the truth was, our audience wasn't Latino most of the time. But I gave tickets to all the busboys at these restaurants. And this busboy walks up to me, and he says to me, thank you. I just want to say thank you. I said, for what? I saw your show. You give me with no voice a voice. Thank you. And that was the most beautiful thing anyone had ever sold me. There's only been 3 Latinos in the history of Broadway that have written and starred their own plays. John Leguizamo, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and me. I say that not to brag, but we're all part of that dream. We're part of that dream. And I had a dream, and I need to say this because I can't really go on if I don't talk about a woman that was so important to me that I met. My wife. My wife. For those Latinos, we're about love. We can't do anything without love. I remember meeting Susie. Wow. A lot heavier than marriage made me thinner. I meet Susie at a New Year's Eve party. I was doing a show in Chicago, and I was doing Latino laws, and it was wonderful. So I remember going there to the show, and they had a clause in my contract. I could fly anywhere I wanted to, first class, if I wanted to go home. And I said, yeah, I want to go home. It's near New Year's Eve, Christmas, just like now. And you need to be with your family at Christmas. And I said, yeah, I want to be with my family, my mother. My father had died. I want to be with my mother and have experience Christmas. And I go there and have a nice Christmas together, and then I become very bored. She's like, it's New Year's Eve, Rick, why don't you go out? Something told me, go out to New Year's Eve, go out. There's something waiting for you. Go to New Year's Eve. I've never gone to a New Year's Eve party by myself. At that time, I was a guy on top of the world. I was dating other women. Forgive me, Susie. But I did date other women before you. You know, but I hated them all. So I went to the New Year's Eve party. There's my wife, my future wife. She's blonde, she's blue-eyed. And her last name's Alvin. She was on the board of the Hispanic Heritage, I think it was Mexican American Foundation or whatever it was. She's in the room now, so you can just yell it out if you want to, Susie. Were you on the board of? Okay, Hispanic Chamber. I knew she was here. So, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and she was there, and she meets me, and she says I always get this story wrong, but it's the theater, Susie, it's not gonna be perfect. She goes there, I'm doing all that stuff, I'm the Hollywood guy, I'm living color, all these big things. And she goes, you know something, I think you're depressed, you really just don't know it. And I didn't know it because I felt freaking great, okay? I was dating models, I dated one of those Rosa Rita refried model types. No, it was a Corona beer model. It's more classy than the Schlitz malt liquor girls. She was much more classy. And so she says, you know something, we started dating. I asked her out because I want to show her just who I am, so I invited her out. We started dating, and she says, I'm just going to go off the pill. We get engaged. I go to Spain, I see her in Spain with her family. I see her in Spain. Spain's a really romantic place because in Spain I fell in love with her. And I asked her to marry me. I was on bended knee. I don't remember really well, but I was looking out and there she was. On bended knee and I'm asking her to marry her and I think, wow, they got a Burger King in Spain that serves food. This is great. Why would they leave Spain? I know the Inquisition to get all that gold. Okay, we left Spain. When I asked her to marry me, she agrees, and we started having children. And you know, it was different. You know, she wanted to have natural childbirth, which was unique for me, because I'm a Hollywood guy. I'm not used to babies, and I changed so many diapers. She's angry right now, but it's not true. Maybe 3 in my lifetime. She found me outside one time, true story. I was washing down one of my kids with a hose. I said, I am fertilizing the lawn, okay? She wanted natural childbirth. And childbirth to me was like that movie Sigourney Weaver with the alien. It's like a being blew out of my wife. It stole my gold or stole my life and my youth and childhood, and bam, I was an adult and I had kids, and it was, I messed that joke up really bad. But I was a daddy, not a poppy. Difference between a daddy and a poppy is this: poppy is a Puerto Rican daddy. And it's different because I dated Puerto Rican girls, and it was so unique because Puerto Rican women are different than the Mexican women I ever dated. They're like, ay papi. And I'm like, is there something wrong? Because I'm Mexican, we don't talk about our family in bed ever. It's like, no, you say I mommy, and I say I papi. And I'm like, all right, I mommy, I papi. And I'm like, who's your daddy? Like, I don't know who my daddy is. He left during Christmas. Dysfunctional. It was amazing. I just cleaned that up. I can't tell you how. I have 3 kids. This proves I'm Mexican. I love my children. So I'm holding one. My son Julian is named after Julian, the city of Julian. And my other son, I'm going to come with a daughter, Sonora. And my other daughter, Kennedy. 2 daughters, 1 son. I'm trying to figure out how to avoid this one joke coming up, but I know they're here. But if I ever have a child, I'm going to name them Quiet Bedroom. Because it was different, because once you have children, you never have a quiet bedroom. They're running in, daddy. They're always running in, all those things. It was amazing. I'm going to cut that joke right now, because my kids are here. But there are cultural differences between you and all of us. And you haven't married. My wife, she's Anglo. I didn't know that at the time. You know, I didn't marry my wife because she was Anglo. I married my wife because I thought she was rich. And I know what credit scores were for. And once I got married, she cleaned up my credit, which is great. You know, yeah, you married a white woman. We're going to give you a house, a car, don't worry. You know, your credit score is great. There's cultural differences. Here's one. I'll give you a cultural difference. My wife thinks it's great to wake me up early in the morning. She's like, let's get up early in the morning, take our kids, let's take them on over. To take me to a you pick 'em farm. To pick fruit. Who would take a Mexican to the you pick 'em farm and pick fruit and pay for it? Now this joke works great because I'm in Oxnard right now. I'm in the middle of the field going, this is a short hole. I thought you got rid of these things. This guy going, look at you, boy. I remember you used to work at your papa, the one that could read. Well, you're back here now, boy. There's a black guy next to me going, if there's some cotton, I'm going to kick someone's ass. And being a young dad, you know, it's great. You know, my wife would be like, oh my God, let's take the kids. And you know, she guilts me told that, I believe her. Our kids, we should go out in the ocean there, that area. It's so beautiful for a picnic. Let's take all the kids and go picnic there. So I'm like, that's where a tsunami happens. I'm not going out there. It's like, no, let's take the kids. So I'm in a carriage, or baby carriage, with all these kids in this hot sand. And I'm pushing the baby carriage in this hot sand. And at first, it's not an off-road vehicle, so it turns into the Pyramid of Giza. So it's like pushing, like, ah, God. I'm pushing the hot sand with these kids in the hot sand. And there's these young guys going, I will never get married. I'll put them all in a microwave oven. Forget that. Old white guys are going, that was me 30 years ago. Put a bullet in his head. My family's like, they're treating their gardeners so cruelly. Look at that. So I'm out there like, I feel like Jesus. Oh, Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? And I started feeling depressed, even though this time I really was. I started work, and after Broadway, I said I got to get a regular job. So I traveled so much, I started working for LATV. I was a vice president. I created the Homies, LATV. I did a lot of things. They started to change. They started to go Spanish. And to tell you the truth, I'm not against Spanish language programming, but I really think a lot of Latinos are bilingual. And I think a lot of times it's almost they go push in the Spanish language pile and just leave us there. The truth is, we need to be everywhere. I don't believe in things, you know. Barrio can be Beverly Hills and Oxnard. It's just where we live. Barrio just means neighborhood, like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, except we don't let old Anglo pastors play with their children. That's the only difference. I left LATV. I did the film Nothing Like the Holidays. A beautiful story. I wrote that. John Leguizamo was in it. Deborah Messing. And there was a story of my life. I met my wife, and in some ways, Deborah Messing was my wife, although she probably doesn't think so. But we have great kids. This Latino culture mixed in with her Irish culture. When my dad found out about it, he was like, first of all, you know, you're very fertile. You know, you're going to get her pregnant. You had a cousin who was a lifeguard who got her pregnant just by resuscitating her. Don't do it. You don't check their sippy cups for alcohol every night. They're going to be double alcoholics. Don't do it. But we married her, and we have children. That's great because we have a mix. Latinos, we have been mixed from day one. So I have 3 beautiful Mexicans. And they speak Spanish. They speak better Spanish than I do. It's a school. It's total Spanish. I call it Spanish waterboarding. It's like, I remember my father was gone. I remember I missed him. I always think back on it because now being a father, I think of my own father. I remember one time my father gave me a coat. When I was a little kid, my best friend Nicky Witt saw me in a coat. Like, I saw this long coat. I loved it. I looked like little one of the little Kennys at the funeral. Remember the one who's wearing the coat? That was me. I was so proud of that long trench coat. I looked like Humphrey Bogart. I went to school, and my best friend at the time, Nicky Witt, says, "Hey, where'd you get the dress?" What? Where'd you get the dress? It looks like a girl. It looks like a dress. You're wearing a dress. So I was like, yeah, screw it. I dragged the coat home. All upset. My dad sees me. He goes, what happened? He said, Nicky Witt said I was wearing a dress. Well, you don't have to wear a coat no more. Don't worry. Years later, when he was dying, he brought me a coat. He said, Rick, it's been cold in L.A. I want you to have this coat. It's cold in L.A. I don't know what he means. I didn't know he was dying. I realized at that moment I walked with giants. So many great Latino men in my life. From my father, who gave me that coat. He went to Vietnam. He went to World War II. He raised 5 children. He had a job for over 30 years. I wouldn't have had a job for over a year. spoke 2 languages, I speak 1.5 at best. And I'm thinking, does he have better genes than me? Was that it? Or maybe because I grew up with Twinkies and ho-hos and things like that, and he grew up on pure water and great things, and somehow I'm not able to change the things I see, and I see things. I see terrorism. I see diseases invented in my own lifetime, and I worry for my children. I don't have any answers. But I would wear my father's coat and think, yeah, Dad, it does get cold in LA. Thank you. Thank you for being who you are. He was gone. Now, America's changed as I was a child, and thinking back in the ICU, being there, I started thinking about a lot of different things. And it was close. I almost died. Now, I didn't have any wonderful stories about near-death experiences, so if I did, I would make a lot of money, because it'd be great. I'd give seminars on some angel talking to me, and you have to buy my book and all those other things. It was nothing. I remember feeling the warmth because my family was there. My wife would hold my hand. I remember small things. I always think about that story they tell about God, you know. Remember the 2 footstep story in the sand? Where the guy's walking, he's walking in the sand, and he has hard times, and he realizes the footsteps have left him. And it's only him, and he goes through a hard time, and he says, he meets God at the end of it and says, God, where were you during that hard time? You left me because there's only one pair of footsteps in the sand. And God looks at him and says, I was holding you. In my arms, I was the only pair of footsteps in the sand. I held you. I didn't think of anything like that. Because my God would have been, well, actually, I left you because you were complaining. You were nagging, oh, poor me, oh, poor me. That's closer to my God. There's nothing like that. And I remember, I wasn't getting a message from God. But you know what I got? I think God has a great sense of humor. It's a great sense of humor. He looks and he says, I give you miracles every single day. I put a planet that just a slight alignment would be too frozen to live on. Another slight alignment would be too hot to live. I give you miracles each and every day. And I look back in my life, I realize there's been a lot of miracles. A lot of great miracles. Being here tonight's a miracle. A little while back, I was in the ICU, and it didn't look pretty. And I was there. And I look back at my life, I realize there's a divine hand in all those different ways. And being in a coma, I realize there's life on the other side. And then I get a call. I get a call from my agent who says, Rick, you gotta speak at the World Bank. I heard you had some sort of accident. You okay? Oh yeah, I'm fine. Great. They kept my phone away from me. I finally got it back. Great. I'm really good. So it looked like one of those 80s Von Down movies. I'm like, I'm perfect, okay? Who wants you to speak at the World Bank? You've got this opportunity to speak at the World Bank. So I was like, wow, I'd never had a chance to speak at the World Bank. The World Bank. I didn't know why me, because I have really bad credit, but they called me. And everyone thought I was hallucinating. I mean, people at CBS, I text them, I'm going to speak at the World Bank in a week. Oh my God, poor Rick is hallucinating. He thinks he's going to speak at the World Bank? We've lost the grapevine. I go to the World Bank. I even took a picture of me in front of the World Bank. We have it here. Because I had to show people, I'm at the World Bank. And I was a week out of the hospital. And that's a Mexican worker. So I go to the World Bank. I know I have to provide for my family, they're going to pay me. So that's one reason to get me out of bed. So I get on a plane, I bring my agent with me, because I tell him, you know, listen, I might die on the plane. I don't want to be alone being dead. People might do weird things to me. I'd like you there. You'll just have to be 6 hours on a plane with a dead guy. So he comes, and we go to the World Bank. And I get to the World Bank. This is a speech I gave to people at the World Bank, and I was amazing to do it. I walked there. 260 different countries are represented in the World Bank, and they want me to talk about diversity and all these incredible things. And I walked up and I said, I started my speech this way. I said, if you look to your left, there's over 270 countries represented here tonight. But you're right, there's over 270 countries represented here tonight. And each one of you is a miracle. You're a miracle how you got here. You're a miracle that you're here. And if you look on the stage tonight, you'll see a man who's a walking miracle. A week ago, I was in a coma. That's how I started the speech. Of course, they're shocked. And I said, that's a Mexican work ethic. Mexican work ethic. My father, he went to Vietnam to work during the Tet Offensive because of the overtime. Started fixing jets and planes. I said, when did you go to Vietnam? Oh, I went there doing that fiesta party something, Tet Offensive, Tet. I go, you went to Vietnam in a Tet Offensive to a lot of overtime. Realizing now I gotta put my wife had visited me in the hospital, she held my hand, she goes, Rick, you have to change. So I started to slow down a little bit. Not much, believe me. Tomorrow morning I start filming again, but I'm still slowing down. This is my last story. My little son, one day we're sitting at home, Julian, and I love that kid, like, I realized my father was loving him, I realized how much he loved me. And so I'm watching a movie called Cromwell. Richard Harris. Same movie I saw as a little kid. I remember that movie so well. And Richard Harris is saying we're going to have freedom and education, and this will be a land of laws, and he's speaking so beautifully. My son looks at me and goes, Dad, where are the women? I said, well, there are no women back there. Women were not invented back then? I don't know, there were women, because I know there were women. But where were the women? I go, in Parliament? Well, there are no women in Parliament. There are no women in politics back then. And he looks at me and he says, that's not fair. I love that. That my child learned something through art. That art taught him a lesson. That creativity does that. They talk about education, they talk about, science, technology, math, engineering, STEM. I say science, technology, arts. STEAM. I look at him and he goes, where's the women? And I hope you always ask that question. Because I ask, where are the minorities? Where are the people of color when I turn on my TV set? Because we're all better off included than apart. And I'm glad they'll ask questions like that. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I write. And that's why I perform. We tell our stories, and we keep asking the question, where are we? And we're missing at that table. We're missing at that banquet. I want to go out and get the Latinos and bring them in. I want us to be included. And that's why I do what I do. Even though I'm almost white. That's the first time I ever told that story, just to let you know. So, Oxnard, I thank you for letting me be a part of your community. I'll be doing more of these, add more entertainment here. People say, why Oxnard? And I say, why not? And what we're doing, and Dr. Sherwood, and all the people, Dr. Duran, Dr. Moore, everyone's doctor's name but me. It's a dream to create a program and an opportunity for Latinos to perform, because they'll tell our stories. And if you get my book, Almost White, we'll sell it outside. really is about that, and this is some excerpts from the book, but I want to give you guys a chance to ask any question you want, because I want you to know me. So I open myself to any question you want, I will answer it. Here's little Julian right there. So, did you like the show? Good. Hey, Rafa, do you have that, nothing at the holidays? Oh, you want to see me in red surf? Yeah. Okay, you gotta watch this. Now you understand what I'm talking about. Show them red surf.
As gang leaders, they raised hell.
I don't know if it's gonna work.
Sure what?
That was me. Is it working?
You can't be going out on runs anymore, man. What do you get busted? Huh? What about Rebecca? What's she gonna do? Red surf. Now there's a chance for one last score.
We do this one deal, all right?
This last deal.
Yeah, one last deal, okay? We make a shitload of cash, we get out of Dodge.
A deal that would set them up for life.
You're not gonna change. It's just the same.
Hey, I'm not gonna do this my whole life.
But in this world, there are no winners.
This is the Russian-made AK-47 assault rifle. Shoots single round, full rock and roll.
It's my ticket out of here.
Reckon that kid is your ticket out of here. Long life,
Good business. I'd give anything in the world for another shot. Not you, okay? And not Doc, and not Rebecca. Nobody's gonna tell me what to do.
That's enough. You get right here.
What do you got to prove out there? I got nothing to prove.
So. Oh, you killed him. Oh, no. All right. The reason I tell you that is that's why I started writing, because I was tired of playing those drug lords. And I was playing, I was never a drug lord, I swear. I was never the organization called Latino Rebels mentions that 40% of all Americans believes most Latinos are involved in the narcotics trade. It was like, and I've never been involved in the narcotics trade. I tried, I didn't feel the written test. But the whole point is this, is I was a Shakespearean actor at that time. I'll show you one more clip. You have nothing like the holidays? This is one I do like. This is for Christmas. Give a chance to rent this movie. Oh, we don't. Okay, never mind. We're gonna get that movie one day. But you know, I mean, and that's what I want you to see. It's like that's a really stretch for an actor to play that role. You know, I never do drug lords, so I just had to guess. But anyone have a question? Any question? Yeah.
Do you have any comments or thoughts about right now SNL
Yes.
is trying to get people of color on there?
Yeah, you know, the problem is they don't have, it really starts with writers. SNL's never had people of color who are writers. So a writer writes the roles. So even though they say we put on an actor, it's not as effective as putting on a writer. That's why I was a writer. I am a writer. So I actually coach my program at CBS have 3 members that went on to SNL. Kate McKenna, John Milheiser, and Nassim Petrov. Then through my program, they're on SNL. And a lot of times, SNL is normally, if you look at the room and statistic, it's mostly young white males. And one older white male, Lord Michaels, that runs it. So they're defending the minority because in New York, the white person is a minority. So that's my only explanation. You get that subtle joke. So I just today, I have formed African American women in my show this year at CBS. And one of them has been flown into New York today to audition, Lisa. And I coached her, I worked with her, so I gave her the best chance I can, and I just hope the door's open. But the problem is this, I'm not making the decision, they are. So yes, it's a controversy, because in the end, don't you want to see America that you live in? You know, that's it. I don't care if you're white, brown, black, or whatever. You know, let's see the real world we live in. And that's what entertainment's about. So I think it's pretty sad that SNL is doing that, and it continues to be a bastion of, arrogance. Yes?
Yes, like you mentioned, we're really underrepresented because we're bilingual. A lot of us are, more English-speaking and Spanish. To get representation in the media and in movies is very minimal. Is there some type of organization that you know of that we can maybe become members of, that we could support financially to start creating some kind of vehicle to
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and a lot of times the problem is a lot of times we've waited for the organizations. I know the organizations out there. Hispanic Heritage Foundation is one, and there's otros. I've gotten an ALMA award. I've gotten National Council of Raza. I've gotten a Golden Eagle Award. Los Otros. I've gotten an Image Award. I've gotten all the awards. The awards never did me any good. It was nice. It was a great dinner, and I got an award. But the true thing is you have to support Latinos. We have the numbers. We need support. So next time you hear of an event happening here, easiest thing you can do is, I used to do my show that go, if you're Latino, tell your cousins. If you're Anglo, tell your employees. So get all of our people here, because if we're here supporting Latino artists like myself and the other ones we've had here, the numbers don't lie. And they say, because a lot of times Hollywood thinks Latinos don't support other Latinos. They don't want Latino things. That's why you see the movies like Fast and Furious is mostly supported by Latinos. Every once in a while throw a Latino in there, but they almost think we don't need to do this until you keep asking for it and wondering why it's not there and keep demanding it. Then that will change. But there are organizations, Nosotros is one of them, but I really think it's you at the box office, you supporting Latino work. And being here tonight, you've done that. I thank you. So you've done a great thing. And your consciousness is going back and telling you, because what we're doing here in Oxnard is a great way to support. Find out ways more, Dr. Duran and everyone else, how can we support as a community? Because this won't work unless the community supports it. Unless the students support it. If I give you a bad show, come up and tell me. I don't like this show. Yes?
Since you are a writer, what I have the impression, most of the roles that people get for Latino roles are drug dealers, mafia, housekeepers.
Those are the roles. You just said it. That's the basic breakdown.
Why they do not show like people like you, people like you mentioned the astronauts, people like congressmen? Why it is like always we are?
You're absolutely right. Because one is we need our people to support us in the box office, support our stories, and people like you say, hey, I want to see another side. You coming here tonight, if next time I perform or come here and it's packed with 400, 500 people, the reason I got on Broadway is we sold out 1,200 seats. And they go, because Hollywood is green, it's money. And they go, they want, if 1,200 Latinos are going to go see that show, I better put Latinos in that project. Eugenio Derbez brought a great crowd, I brought a great crowd, and it was actually a very bilingual crowd. Eugenio had his people come because Latinos have to feel they're invited. This is a beautiful theater, and you're invited here every single time we're here. And it's your theater too, it's not just mine, it's not ours, it's all of ours. And this is what they want, this is what this college wants, you to be part of this. So anytime you can come here and tell your friends to come here, this will change this. Because I wasn't a drug lord, I played them, but I've done these things, but now you're seeing hopefully an articulate Latino that's written a book. Get everyone to buy the book. That tells the publishers that Latinos read. That's it. Because they'll say, I don't know, like Latino author, I don't know, Rick. They really read? Well, yeah, we do. That's what changes. It's your dollars in the box office changing it. That's what changes everything. Supporting and going out there. And that will change that, because then what happens, I'll need Latino writers like me. And I won't write the drug lord and things like that. And when I do, I'll make fun of them. That's what I've done in Latino laws. They were drug lords, but I made fun of them. In fact, they threatened me. So, it was effective. But the whole point is you take a stereotype and you turn it upside down. Or you take a stereotype and you give it humanity that they don't see, you make it multidimensional. In other words, there are many wonderful Latinos who are maids and busboys and things like that have great stories to tell and are wonderful human beings. My mom was a waitress. My dad worked in a sheet metal worker. My grandfather was a baker. You know, wonderful stories and good stories. And you know something? We're mixing it up much more. So, you know, when I look at my children who are Mexican as part of our cultural evolution, their stories, but they speak Spanish, they know the culture, and they know who they are. You can call me anything you want. You can call me an apple, you can call me a Chicano, you can call me a Spanish, you can call me, I know who I am, I know my history, I know who I am and where I've been. And that's part of our culture. So you being here tonight answers that question, so thank you. You know, it's weird because I'm in both worlds. I know Sofia Vergara personally. She was always sweet with me, and I've helped her. You know, Sofia plays a type, so people get upset at Sofia. But you know something? It's part of who she is. She really talks like that. It's not that she didn't make it up. I know you can't understand it. Which, you know, but she's was a single mother from Colombia and came here with her manager Luis Balaguer, and you know, she really built up a great career. Some people get upset, but I say, you know, the problem is it's not Sofia's the problem. The problem is there's another alternative. We don't see another Latina next to Sofia. So you sit there and go, I had a guy walk up to me after the show in Portland, Oregon. He walks up and he goes, you know something? You should do your show in Spanish. You should do it in Spanish. I don't like it when people talk accents like that. No good, I don't like it. Look at you. That's a stereotype. And I looked at him and said, you know, I hate to offend you, but you're a stereotype. A really thick accent, you wearing a red velour jacket, you got a gold pinky ring, you got cap teeth. I would say Central Casting would grab you up right now. I'm being honest. So he goes, okay. Sign for my children. Autograph. I go, what's their names? Guido and Stephanie. I go, it's not Guadalupe, William and Stephanie. He goes, I'm important, just write it out, okay? So, you know, part of comedy is that, you know, you can't also expect it to be pure. I mean, I can say anything on stage and someone will find something wrong with it normally. You know, I have to be careful, but I think my heart is good, and I think audiences feel that. So you know, when I first started out, I was Latins Anonymous. Why is it Chicanos Anonymous? Why is it Chicanos Anonymous? Well, two of my cousins are married to Cesar Chavez's daughters. They're UFW big guys. I'm on the board of FIELD, which is a UFW organization. I worked on a lot of things, but I never had to say I'm Chicano. I just did them. But if it's going to make a separation between me and a Mexican American that doesn't want Chicano, then I'm not going to say it. We're an inviting people. We're good people. That's probably what happens, what goes wrong with us a lot of times. We invited the Anglos into Texas. Come on in, it's fun. Puerto Ricans invited the Spanish into Puerto Rico. Come on in, we got barbacoa. We invented it, have it. You know, Moctezuma, hey, you want to fit on this? Come on in, trust me. So we're inviting people, but a lot of times it's not the actor's the problem. It really is the writer. If I'm writing a role for someone, I need to be aware of what that role says, what its implication is, and how it changes our image. You know, you are watching propaganda. Every time you watch TV, you're okay, buy this, do this, do this. And you don't see a Latino in there in a role that's more representative of us, then you'll say, if I say Latino, what do you see? Do you see a drug lord? Do you see someone like that? Or if I say Latino, do you see me? That's what I have to do. And to change it where you go, I see him. When I see Latino, I see this. You know, when I see it, if you say the word apple, do you see a red apple, a green apple, depending on your experience. When you say Latino, what do you see? When we say Chicano, what do you see? Mexican American, what do you see? Indigenous, what do you see? Those are things, because we're a very complex, multi-layered people. A lot of people like to put us in boxes. That's just not where we live. Another question, is that answered? Yeah.
Have you received any input or feedback on the Advocacy movie without instructions? Is Hollywood taking notice of the reception that it's
Yeah, you know, they are. I mean, I went to the screening, I saw many there. You know, we talked. about each other and stuff like that. Went to his house, I stayed at his house in Mexico. He's definitely rich. It's funny because all the Mexicans I know happen to be pretty wealthy because there's Mexican stars. So not like regular Mexican guys you meet. So I asked Jaime, hey, Jaime, take me to lunch. He goes, where do you want to go? He goes, don't worry about me. Where do you go? I want to see where you have, what food you eat. Take me to your favorite place. I said, really? Your favorite? My favorite place? Okay. Meet me in La Condesa at this address. I go there, it was a Starbucks. I love Starbucks. And I'm eating dinner with Eugenio, and I go, what are we going to have for dessert? Cocoa Puffs. We got Cocoa Puffs, you know. So, you know, it's a weird thing to segue to. I think I lost the question, but, you know, we're hard to define, and that movie was very much a movie that represented Eugenio. Eugenio really more of a serious actor that happens to do comedy. He himself says, I'm not a comedian. Like, we work on stage, he's a dancer. He's very precise. And it was a film that I think it was perfect for him because it was about, it had pathos, it had emotion, and that's what Latinos are. The reason a lot of times they get our stuff, like tonight, I made you laugh, didn't I? And I made you feel things. And I made you reflect, and all these different emotions. That's what a Latino entertainer does. And people go, no, they just make you laugh. Or, oh, it's going to be super sad. Or, you know, they don't realize we live in all those worlds. We live in these worlds, and that's what, we live in a world of duality. I can be Mexican, and I can be American. I can be from California, or I can be from Texas. I can be, because in Mexico, it's not, you know, it's not, there's no such thing as one Mexico in Mexico. You go to Chiapas, and that guy is different than the guy in Mexico City. You know, you go to Guadalajara, they don't consider the guy in Mexico City a Mexican, only from Guadalajara. So we're tribal. So my thing is always about uniting people and being a bridge, not a wall. So I grew up on a border. So, but I thought it was a good movie, and Hollywood is noticing. Hollywood is definitely noticing. They have to. Now the question is, are they going to choose Latino writers? Are they going to let other people write stories? We need to be in charge of our own stories. That's what I say. And that's what this program is about. Anyone else? Yes?
I have a question, and I know I'm probably going to hear a why not, but why did you come to Oxnard?
What?
Why did you come to Oxnard? Just out of
Well,
curiosity.
yeah, I mean, I can always say why not, but you know, you ask a question, I'm going to give you an answer. One is, they approached me, and you know, I didn't know about Oxnard. I knew there were strawberries here. You know, and they approached me, and I think they approached me because all the work I've done in the Latino world, but also they had a dream of really creating something that we could have here for us, and also be a national thing. There's no reason this isn't national. I started a program at CBS 9 years ago. More people have come out of the program probably than half of Hollywood's programs. And I did a show Latino Laws. Over 150 actors were in it. Latins Anonymous had it. I've always provided work. I just want to come here and have a place that I can work on material and have a home, and they're really providing me that home. Correct? That's right. I see the potential. When I bring people from Hollywood, Rafa, one of my producer friends, and Linda and other people are here from Hollywood, they walk in the theater, and they go, oh my God, it's right there. Wow, look at this. So they see the potential. So we all have to see the potential together. Because I promise you, I will work my tail off to be here, to make this thing happen. You just have to support me. A lot of times Latino culture, there's that one Latino theory. I want to be the best. I'm the only Latino. I never want to be the only Latino. I want to be one of many Latinos. And this is a program that will create more Latino performers and artists, whether they go in the arts or whether they go into TV or film or that, but they know they have an extra skill. I told my kids, they go, why am I learning Spanish? You're going to have more friends. That's it. Oh, yeah.
Aside from
You know, I think a lot of times, one is art is a great magnet. Because I would have never gone to college if it hadn't been for art. Really, truthfully. I would have been, because my parents were from that generation. It was like Army, post office. Those are your two career paths. Post office, you'll never lose a job. Not true anymore. But I was going to be a Marine. I was approved for officer training program. I was going to go to the Marine. And everything was set up. I was going to go. My father and family had been in the war. And I didn't, because I got a show. So I ended up in a play at the Oak Globe. Oddly enough, years later, I performed for the troops in Diego Garcia. I performed overseas, and I felt I gave back to my country, that I never forgot the troops. But look how I can do it through art. And like I tell you, the most touching thing for me over there is when soldiers who fought in that war, who were so young, and I tear them out sometimes. I call my wife on Skype, and I just, he's so hurt, because they say, you're my hero. You go out there and you perform, you make me laugh, you're my hero. I'm like, you're my hero. You get shot at. The worst thing can happen is someone just looks bored. That's about it. So, I think this is a wonderful place and a wonderful opportunity. And we just, what we have to do is use, arts as a magnet. Hopefully we keep kids here and people, and then say that you can go on and do more things. And you can stay here. It's one of your skill sets. Because here's the biggest problem. Right now, China has promised to educate millions and make sure they get degrees. I don't hear that in America. Second problem is, the largest group of Latinos is under 5, preschool. We have no programs really for them. We're being held back every single time. And when Governor Brown, forgive me for being political now, first became governor, there was 44,000 prisoners. Now, as governor, there's 44,000 prison guards. More prisons were built than colleges during his terms for both times. We're incarcerating our people, we're not educating our people. And that's our biggest problem. And community colleges offer people a chance what they wouldn't have in a very expensive school. So that's why I really see the importance of it. So, partially to our fault too, we have to tell our families, like I tell my kids, like what I tell you guys, when I'm driving to school, I give you those speaker records. It's like, okay, you have to do really well in school. And I'm really adamant with them because it's an opportunity to have. And I'm tough on them. I say, you gotta get these grades up. You gotta do this. Because I want them to have more choices in life than I do. I've been fortunate, very fortunate, but I've worked 100 times harder than anyone else. This isn't an accident. I'll be here, I'll do this tonight. 6 a.m. I'm on a set with Edward James Almost filming a comedy. And after that, I think Sunday, I go to an event in San Diego. I'm constantly having to work because I just can't be good. I have to be great. That's the only way. So our children have to be great. The only way they can be great is education. So that's why education is important. That's why we need to stress education. Because it's not just for me. Because I'll tell them, and when I hear people, like I wrote this op-ed piece in Huntington Post, they put it up, I said, education is a civil right. I got all these really rude, prejudicial people go, no, it's not a civil right. I'm angry. Like Tea Party types, it's not a civil right out there. And I go, okay, you're right. Education is not a civil right. No one should get educated. You happy now? Because guess what? If you win that war, if you win that argument, you're going to have a generation that isn't going to put tax dollars in. They're not going to have good jobs, so they can be taxed. They're not going to have, and we're going to have a generation where Latinos are a subgroup who become second-hand citizens. That's why we need to be educated, because our future. And I look at everyone who's against educating Latinos. If you put Latinos first, you're putting America first, because we're the younger generation. So if you educate Latinos, imagine what that could do. We put all that money in education. Imagine what could be invented. Imagine the money we could make. Imagine, instead of incarceration, that's not an easy thing to figure out is $50,000 a year to house an inmate. For a juvenile, it's more, like $120,000, $200,000. That's a college education. So how are we're arresting our people, we're incarcerating people, we're putting these wars on all these things, and what's we getting out of it? Absolutely nothing. Don't build another prison, build another college. And you gotta force them to do that. And here's one last thing before I go. Like, I love politics. I just love, because that's what you need to make a solution. I can make you laugh, but you need to change things with the ballot box. There are kids being deported now to Mexico. They're deported. 2 million of our people are being deported, mostly Latinos, are being deported. Their parents are undocumented. Those kids are American citizens. Now they're going into the Mexican education system. They're not wanted by Mexico, and Mexico education said, we have a problem here. We have all these kids, they don't speak Spanish that well. Some don't at all. And now they're in Mexico, how do we educate them? And those kids who are speaking English, not wanted by this country in their minds, and not wanted by that country, if I was a narco, that's the first group I'd go after. That's your recruitment for terrorism, that's recruitment for narcos, that's recruitment for everything. Because I'd be a pretty pissed off kid if I grew up in that country after being forced out of here and watching my parents suffer, when all they wanted to do was work in a land that once was theirs. Yes.
I just wanted to say on behalf of my second home, Oxnard, and the college, Oxnard College, that I thank you for accepting the offer to come to Oxnard, because we didn't have no one to make, those sort of things. Thank you, because to get the students, Hispanics, Latinos, to be educated, we have to have parent support. And for you accepting and the offers from out here, you're definitely showing your children that, you know what, if you don't have your parent support, it's going to be that much harder for you. Thank you for helping our parents see that, we need to be supported.
Thank you so much. One last question. My little daughter, Kennedy. She wants to go on stage. Yes, what is it? Come on, here's your chance. You had one. What? How does it feel to be famous? That's beautiful. You live with me. You know how unfamous I am. I never think that way. I really don't. I mean, if you buy my books, means you like me, or these are great. But I think I'm pretty normal. So yeah, I don't know how she came up with that one, but thank you, Kenny, and I love being your father. That's what I want to be famous for. I mean.